stream?
Yes, we consent.
Nice. Opposition, are you here and consent to be live stream?
Here, and yes, we consent.
All right, nice. Okay, so just a bit introduction for the judges, starting from me. I'm Isron, I'm from UI, I'm also a part of the CAP, and yeah, I hope we can have a very great round in this debate or on this grand final round. And next up, we have the beautiful Vinay.
Hi everyone, I'm Vinay from Atma, and yeah, looking forward to a wonderful debate.
Okay, KJPJ.
Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan from Unpar. Congratulations for making this far and good luck for the grand final round.
Mbak
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Astri, she or her pronouns. We just address the panel of judges as a whole. Congratulations for proceeding. Have fun.
Nice. And lovely, Kasanto.
Hi everyone, my name is Santo. Good luck for both teams.
All right, so that's all for the introduction. So yeah, under the motion of this house would ban any kind of personalized advertisement based on algorithm and private data tracking, even with consent, calling up the Prime Minister.
Sorry, before we start the debate, may I ask if I can go to the toilet for a few minutes?
Yep, it's totally fine.
Thank you so much.
Nice. Okay. And for both teams, don't forget to tell us your POI preference and also your preferred gender pronouns. All right. Let's wait for the golf team who wants to go to the toilet. And if any debaters or any judges also want to go to the toilet, you can do it now before we proceed to the actual debate. For Valerie, are you done?
Yes, I'm back. Thank you so much. Sorry.
All right, and sorry to mispronounce your name. It was supposed to be Valerie. Okay, but anyway, yep. Calling Prime Minister, here.
Am I audible?
Yep.
Okay. Gender pronoun she or her and POI preference just through the chat. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. We get that advertisements are made to promote products or services. Companies have all their rights to put those up, but when personalized advertisement polarizes individuals to the extent of incentivizing these people to excessively spend their money, we will ban those advertisements on side proposition. What are we going to do then on our side? 2 main points of setup. First of all, we want to ban every single personalized advertisement that's constructed on the basis on algorithms and private data tags. It looks like companies or corporations being restricted to get consumers' information and data to build their advertisement that is targeted towards these consumers. It also looks like the erasure of these personalized advertisements at the end. We don't think it's that urgent as to how these companies gain information, but the impact that you get from the advertisement itself that is being projected to the society. If the purpose of advertisement is to shift to people's interest, having your data exposed to companies just for the sake of convenience is the problem that we want to prevent. But secondly, however, under our side of the house, we want to stick with the status quo. Advertisements can still be uploaded by these companies, just not with the expense of these consumers' data and privacy being and exposed at the end. It's that based on the company's own interest itself. If they have to promote their own products, then they promote it anyway. The 2 main points of argument then in my speech. First of all, on the principle of privacy infringement. And secondly, later I'm going to talk about how these personalized advertisements will only create predatory advertisements. But first of all, let's talk about the principle of privacy infringement. Because I think that opposition might come and talk about the issues of privacy, but here's why we think that privacy is that important to begin with, and why consent is actually not that viable inside the current status quo. First of all, we don't think consent is that viable, since users must accept the terms and conditions in order to use applications or even access websites that they want to use, right? Meaning that these users don't ultimately have their choice upholded inside the internet advertisements, because if we don't accept these terms and conditions, then you would directly get kicked out of the application that you actually need and that you actually want to search for these items, right? But secondly, that even if opposition wants to argue that privacy is not important, but what's problematic is the fact that privacy becomes very minimum when it comes to advertisement under their side of the house, right? Even if advertisement under their side is according to what society wants, people still have their own capacity to search up items or services that they need anyway, which is why we don't get why it is that urgent to begin with for these companies to actually dig up your data and dig up your information in order to make those personalized advertisements. If opposition wants to champion how algorithms and personal data can form a better advertisement, then we think that that's completely true. Because insofar as people still have their demand unfulfilled, they have their own ways of finding products or services that they need inside the internet. Instead, society under our side of the house, there's going to be more incentive for them, for these societies, to research about their product when advertisements seems too good to be true, for instance, like what happens on their side with the use of these personalized advertisements at the end. Exactly because these companies know exactly what these consumers want to buy. That is the reason why we think advertisement under their side of the house is way more harmful. But secondly, we also think that even if advertisements are not that suitable with consumers, that's not going to be a big problem under our side of the house, since people can simply close or block those advertisements anyway, which is why we don't think the issue of the advertisement itself is that major in this case. The second argument then on the idea of predatory advertisement and how precise data actually magnify those predatory prices. If we take opposition at their best, let's assume that their personalized advertisement is that good to begin with, to the extent of continuously incentivizing people to purchase products and services exactly because it is that compatible with the consumer. This is not going to be a benefit, chat please. It's instead a harm because of several points of analysis. First of all, notice how it's only going to result inside a predatory advertisement, knowing that people will spend their money when they see these products, which otherwise they won't if their algorithm or their private data is not being tracked by these companies. The likelihood exists exactly because companies have their best interest to maximize their own profit. Insofar as they find out that a user wants to buy a certain product, for instance, they post all of the advertisement that is suitable with what these consumers want. The outcome then becomes society are more at stake with the harms of irrational hedonistic behaviors under side opposition. That is the world that they have to defend under their side of the house. When it operates under the algorithm that society can control, we think it's only going to be unjust for these companies to target consumers with the items that they want to buy. However, profit alone is still going to be there under our side of the house, noticing that the chain of supply and demand will always run anyway, right? Consumers would have to buy items anyway, therefore the circulation of money will still exist. But what differentiates side proposition and opposition is that under our side of the house, these people search up their own items if they actually want to buy something, and the advertisement is already there from these companies at the end. But secondly, then, we also think the opposition can argue about check and balances for these companies if they want to talk about it. But before that, I'll take a point.
How does your advertisements look like under your side then?
Yeah, it looks like from how these companies want to promote their product, but it's not going to be tracked based on these consumers' data or their algorithm at the end of the day. So if they make a certain product, then they actually promote those products based on based on the speculations that they have. But secondly, we don't think opposition can argue about check and balance that comes from these companies. Notice that under their side of the house, privacy leakage doesn't come only from social media, but it also comes from these personalized advertisement that companies make. When it becomes a medium that is normalized inside society, that is what traps these consumers to not figure out which company is actually leaking their data. Most likely, society is only going to be more vulnerable under their side of the house when there's going to be more of this medium that actually exposes their data at the end of the day. This is likely to happen, especially with the current context that the current trend of companies working with each other to resell private information that their consumers have, right? Such as social media or websites. Notice how they can only gain money from selling these data because subscriptions, for example, for paid services is still at minimum. We think that selling data collaboration with companies to enhance their profit, companies will do it either way. That is the reason why individuals search up gadgets in Instagram, for instance, and the next moment it suddenly appears in their Amazon page. That is the kind of strategy that the market uses under their side of the house. The convenience and compatibility of product is their only benefit. That point alone can stand in this debate. Comparatively on the our side, however, exactly because advertisements are still conventional, society would have to search up their products and services by their own. This becomes a mitigating factor for all of the harms of predatory advertisement or even hedonistic behaviors itself, exactly when society still have to make a move in order to search for items that they want to buy. The way then becomes, if data is the source for companies to exploit and weaponize society's demand, advertisement should never be allowed to access algorithms or even to track these consumers' personal data when the outcome of purchases is similar on the both sides of the house, but under the side proposition, we protect more of these consumers on the other side of the house. That is the reason as to why we're so proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you for the amazing speech. Calling upon leader of opposition to start the whole case of opposition. Here.
Okay, can I get a confirmation that I'm both visible and audible?
You are both visible and audible.
Thank you so much. POIs verbally, please. Gender pronoun she, her. I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Proposition cannot just debate the most extreme misuse of personal data done by immoral institutions and politicians. The Cambridge Analytica scandal was the worst case of how Facebook took the data of their customers without their consent and sold it to a strategic company, right? This is not something that opposition has to defend. Look, it might be populist for them to do so because right now personalized advertising based on algorithm situations is highly scrutinized due to the glorification of the concept of privacy as well. They never told you how advertising works on their side and why advertisement is more moral on their side. The path to victory on our side is simple here. We posit that personalized advertising based on algorithms is important, and the only way for you to make sure advertising is more accessible for all types of industries and not gatekeeping these information. 4 things in my speech then. Firstly, let's directly engage with Prime Minister's case. First rebuttal then on their claim on personalized advertisement is predatory in nature. 2 responses to this. Firstly, they never told you what's the comparative under their side. This is weird. They themselves concede to how it will look like, how this will be harmful too, right? But look, on both sides, there will be research done by companies to sell their products, and they will also try to find data from the demography and try to make a personalized advertising anyway, even though it's not based on algorithm. So that looks like selling stuff based on the geography and the region, based on the social status of the people and all of that. So we don't get why that's less predatory, because we have to acknowledge that advertisement is, in principle, is trying to convince people to buy their product. And all of their analysis literally is just a simplistic approach about how advertisement is actually harmful. They did not specifically argue against personalized ads based on algorithm. We literally asked them in our POI about how advertisement looks like under our side. They only answered very simplistically that, oh, it will be about companies promoting their products. Panels, that's very vague. Let's make the case for them then. On their side then, all advertisements would be only based on traditional advertisements, such as through expensive banners or commercials. But secondly, panels, let's be clear here. You can only credit their predatory advertising harm on their side if only they told you what's the true characterization of society to begin with. They cannot just portray society as a monolithic portrayal that they're irrational without any sort of analysis. 2 things here. Firstly, let's frame the current context of the status quo. In the current status quo, there are so many narratives against extreme consumerism, right? This looks like frugal living, how you have to invest and not spend so much and all of that. That means under our side, companies won't just be super easy to convince these people to buy the products once they see these ads on, like, for example, Instagram. But secondly, let's frame the characterization of the people in the status quo. Proposition gave you an unfair characterization, saying that these people are so naive and will definitely fail into like unjustified marketing and echo chamber. Look, we say that in the status quo, people right now have a certain degree of awareness regarding the privacy and protection of data. That is to say that most individuals can already weigh up their decisions regarding their ability, whether they want to get the ability or not in the first place. So note that we mean it's not confusing terms and agreements that users have to read. What we mean is systems like Apple's, where they ask you if you consent to the app tracking and using or selling your data. We will use our fiat to implement that. So what does that suggest for their case? This is the worst case scenario. You cannot just debate in this extreme scenario. This is just an assertion to begin with, and it is not going to fly in this debate. But let's truly engage then. We argue that regulations against companies taking away data exist. They need to explain why it's not enough, because firstly, in the status quo, regulations regarding personal data protection and laws against personal data theft by companies are rising and started to be well implemented. More government around the world actually fined tech companies like Facebook, Google, and Amazon for unethical data breach, which means stealing data of their customers is already illegal. But moving on, secondly then, a quick clarification to crystallize the whole world of opposition. What does a world under our side look like then? We defend a well-implemented personalized advertisement based on an algorithm that tracks your interest and what you like with your consent. That means we have to fiat to say that we'll simplify the terms and conditions so it's easier for people to understand and make a decision on whether they want personalized ads. That means they cannot just debate in the worst case wherein our data is misused, exactly because there's a multitude of policies and laws against that in the first place. But 2 arguments from LO today. Firstly, why the ban is not justified and harms the principle of advertising. First analysis, why personalized advertisements based on algorithm are actually a good advancement of technology. 3 structural reasonings under this. Firstly, it helps individuals to truly understand their interests and needs in a way that's more advanced. And note that this is not just on the level that you want to buy something and it pops up on your feed, but it also looks like trying to research something and having personalized advertisements direct you to courses about that topic. Secondly, we would argue that there's a big difference between consensual and non-consensual personalized ads. That is to say, if you have the consent, the customers already agree to give out their private data. For example, identity, race, age, name, gender, socioeconomic background, etc., which means that no, it's not coercive and users have agreed and get this benefit in return. And with personal advertisement, you allow individuals to get exposed to things that they need in general. Before moving on, yes, POI.
If advertisements are not convincing, same applies to personalized advertisement, then why is it beneficial on your side?
Okay, I'll be talking about it right now, but thirdly, it allows advertising to be more accessible. Exactly because individuals would have to consent for their personal information. This introduces an entirely new dynamic to what it would be like if individuals would be more aware. Personalization creates awareness, and by this, it gives people the impression that the advertisement they see are relevant to them personally, and as a result, advertising performance may go up, right? Moving on to my second argument then, and why is personalized marketing essential for advertisement accessibility? Look, we have to be clear on how not every single company or businesses are actually big enough to actually reach the demographic they want without personalized ads. This is because your marketing is incredibly harmed without being able to target specific audiences where your product is actually relevant. You just try to put out ads that are very broad in nature because they have no target. This personalized data marketing, small businesses actually can find better ways to actually find potential customers through the use of artificial intelligence and also like data scientists, right? The comparative to traditional methods is clear. And for traditional methods such as door-to-door marketing, we see it often costs a lot at a point in which you have so much people and waste resources. This answers their POI. And this is crucial because on their side, it means you take away the ability for small businesses to market efficiently. You only allow big corporations who have the capital to advertise so a large audience actually gain traction. Given that we defend personalized advertisement with consent, this harms more people to a larger extent. They need to engage to this reality. But okay, let's take proposition at their best. Why does this ban not stop immoral advertisement? We say it's advertisement that use extreme manipulation tactics and psychological tricks to make you buy something. So this looks like insurance companies doing fear mongering or multi-level marketing that is what their side supports. Therefore, based on those grounds, you must side with side opposition. Thank you.
Thank you for the amazing speech calling upon Deputy Prime Minister to continue the case of government. Here.
Hi, just checking I'm audible.
Yep, you are audible.
Yeah, give me 1 minute to preparing my notes then. Okay, setting up my timer. Starting my speech in 3, Oh yeah, POI preference. Please unmute your mic and interrupt my speech. I will be able to distribute to the chat box. Thank you. Preferred gender pronouns she, her. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. One piece of clarification before moving to my rebuttals and my extensions then. First thing, what ads looks like under our set of the house, because LO have been questioning this in their whole speech, right? What ads will look like under our set of the house, it will stick under the status quo right now, right? Where the ads is from the company, but not will actually use the algorithm of the data of these peoples, right? We think then this will be so much beneficial under our set of the house, because then the data under our set of the house will be protected. This is why this is important, right? Three simple rebuttal here. First, under their set of the house, they stated to you then how then personalized ads is not convincing people to buy something. This is nonsense, right? I don't get why then this kind of personalizing ads is actually exist under the status quo right now if it's not to convince people to buy something with their algorithm itself. We think then this could lead to hedonism that I will explain the detail more on my extensions later on. Second rebuttal here on how then small business will not actually afford advertisement and etc. We're not living we're living in the digital era where endorsement exists and digital advertisement exists, right? Even though we're not giving the data of algorithm and etc, there will be so much more alternative on how then the small business could actually make the advertisement, for example, endorsement to influencer, for example, and etc. We think then this kind of thing will actually happen under our set of the house later on, please. Third rebuttal here. Under their set of the house, they stated to you on how then they will ask people for consent to actually make this kind of personalized advertisement or not. We think then people will actually choose to not see this advertisement, right? Why then? Because those kind of advertisement actually bother so much, right? On how then when you scroll Instagram, when you see like Shopee's advertisement, etc, this makes you want to buy it most. This cause the hedonism actually happens under our set of the house. Yes, POI.
Are you supporting fear-mongering ads like insurance companies' ads?
Sorry, can you repeat, please? Sorry.
Are you supporting fear-mongering ads like insurance companies' ads?
We're not actually directly, we're not actually supporting it, but under our set of the house, what we want is to the convenience of these people as well, right? I think, I hope that's answered you. There's one simple extension here and one simple framing. First thing about hedonism, looking at the status quo when you search something like shoes or gadgets and clothes and etc. That one platform like Shopee, for example, the ads would go to Instagram or other platform, right? For example, like Facebook and etc. This shows you then how the data will go to other platform under the status quo right now. When you see things that you see every single time you scroll Instagram, that shoes will pop out in your Instagram, right? For example, hedonism will exist under their set of the house simply because this. We think then this will be very harmful for them, for these people. Why then? 2 points here. First, they still have the same income every month, right? But they spend more on the things they don't even need, for example. And you just just want, for example, right? This actually makes them harder to survive in the end of the day because what they spent is bigger than what they receive every month. Second scenario here, if oppositions that want to defend on how then this actually make this economic circulation better, we think that this won't happen. This will happen under both sides of the house, right? We don't think then spending so much money on things that you don't really need is a good thing in the end of the day. What we think will happen under our side of the house is on how then people will still buy their basic needs, right? For example, like clothes and etc. This shows you then where there is still the economic circulation under a set of the house, but it won't be that high massive kind of level that actually happens under opposition set of the house, right? Then the comparative will be who could give you the better protection for these people as well. And how then we think that the vulnerable actor is these people who are using the platform. We think we give you the better protection from this kind of hedonism culture and etc, right? Because what we want under our set of the house is people not actually not actually impulsively buying things, but we want them, okay, if they demand to actually wanting them, they could search it on Shopee, for example, but we won't actually pop it out on their Instagram or their Facebook, right, to actually make them buy something in the end of the day. We think that is the point of personalized using algorithm kind of advertisement in the end of the day. We think then this will be so much harmful under their side of the house. Comparatively, under our side of the house, what will happen under our side of the house is on how then we actually make them, oh, if they want, then they will go search it, right? But if they don't actually want it, they will not actually search it on Shopee, for example. We think that this will be so much beneficial under our side of the house, since we protect the most vulnerable actor in this way. Second thing, then I'm going to frame to you why then this is bad thing at the end of the day. Why then this is unfair under their side of the house, right? Since the social media or internet platform is the thing that we consume basically every day, right? You wake up, you see Instagram, you go through WhatsApp, and etc. etc. This actually shows you on how then this will create the unfairness coming from their side of the house, right? Why then? Because you actually have to subscribe under their side of the house. Because what will happen under their side of the house is they're using the platform, but what come in expense is they're actually selling their data, for example, right? Which is very, very unfair coming from their side of the house, because you're not protecting these people data at the end of the day, right? Even we're talking about consent, if you don't actually follow the privacy policy that actually every apps use when you actually first use the application, we think that under their side of the house, this will be so much worse, right? Because you're forced to, because the user are actually forced to consent because they don't have a choice, because they actually have to use this kind of application. For example, we're talking about Instagram or we're talking about Facebook, for example, right? This actually force you to actually follow the privacy policy and etc. etc. This shows you then why under their side of the house the unfairness will happen, because simply that this kind of platform is something that we consume every single day, then we have to sell our data in expense then, right? What comparatively under our side of the house, what we actually make is we don't actually sell this kind of data to other company, for example, for advertisement, will be much more safer under our side of the house, right? On how then people, we will not actually sell this kind of data. Very proud to propose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you for the amazing speech, calling upon the Deputy Leader of Opposition to continue the case of opposition. Here. DLO.
Yep, sorry. Okay. Just getting my timer. All right. I go by he, him pronouns. POI is verbally, please. And I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. If Proposition's biggest case is about predatory advertising, that means on their side, the burden that they have to prove to you, which they failed to in 2 speeches, is simple. Why traditional ads will not be predatory. We asked them in our POI about how traditional ads are actually still predatory in nature, because some of them are based on fear-mongering narrative that you need this product, or if it's not fear-mongering, they'll do an extensive research on how to market their products in a way that's extremely smart and similar to personalized ads anyway. We told you in Val's speech that in nature, all ads will be about convincing people to buy their products. The only explanation coming from them was this super simplistic, it's not fair if you see ads every day on Instagram because of the tech company actually sold their data, and like you see it every single day. Again, this is not exclusive, because people will also see traditional ads on a daily basis, and since everyone has to be on the internet now, everything is digital, they also see these ads in websites, etc. too. What does that fatal strategic mistake show about their case? They literally did not tell you anything about the exclusive and specific harm of personalized advertising based on algorithms. Prop can't debating in the worst case, can't keep debating in the worst case scenario where everyone's data is constantly being misused. It was never our burden in the first place to defend misuse of user data, of robbing people of their consent. On our side, before you give your data to tech companies, you'll need to tick the box saying that you have consented. We will be bold here, and let's say if people don't read the terms of service, then it's already their fault because it's already their fault because we have a fiat to say that we will simplify the terms and conditions for them to be reasonable, right? But then they try to tell you, oh, people can look for products they want, which doesn't make sense because seeing a product that you want is a prerequisite to like buying a product you want, right? If you've never seen an ad for a company or for a product, then you won't think to look for it, right? Before my clashes, I have one important clarification. This is a debate about advertising. On both sides, Prop can't just give you general arguments about how privacy is important on our side, because we also agree that breach of privacy is like really bad. It's bad on both sides of the house. Personalization creates awareness, and by this, it gives people the impression that advertisements they see are relevant to them personally, and as a result, advertising performance may go up. Cookies and other monitoring technologies play more valuable, enjoyable online experiences that result from more appropriate advertising. On the other hand, if awareness sparks consumer opposition and awakens privacy concerns, ad performance suffers. If marketers carry on as usual, the latter result seems more palatable. So I'm going to discuss three things in my speech. First, which side is more principally in the right? Second, tangible harms. And third, on my extension, why personalized advertisements help NGOs and small businesses. So let's take a look at their claim that they don't think the principle of consent is important. They try to use the example that these individuals don't fully read the terms of service, therefore they cannot consent. Let's outframe this. We told you since the get-go that we're going to use our fiat to simplify our terms and conditions. This already happens in the status quo, where Apple asks you if you allow these apps to track your data. But let's be charitable and engage anyway. Two responses. One, we have the fiat to say that people are aware to a large degree of what is happening. We stand for a world where personalized ads exist and people are completely aware of it. But two, in an attempt to preempt us, they said, oh, even if you consent, it's not important. No panels, consent is crucial in this debate because insofar as people are aware of what companies are doing with their data, it's perfectly okay. And the reason for this is simple, because people can actually fathom what will happen when companies have their data and the benefit that they will get from it. The fact that they can consent exists and outframes most of their harms. So let's discuss why most of their harm about consumption. They told you that personalized ads causes like overconsumption. Look, overconsumption is not the fault of personalized advertising because individuals have a clear understanding about their financial capacity and they know their needs. Most likely, they'll just look through it and put it on their wish list e-commerce app and wait until they actually have money. But if they want to use like pay later, it's also maximum like 2 million rupiah, right? It won't cost them bankruptcy. Prop is exaggerating. Now, second clash on tangible harms. They tried to claim that society is extremely vulnerable, right? Two responses here. One, they tried to say that advertisers don't have the right to see user data, even though this isn't really what even happens in the status quo. It's not how personalized ads work, right? But two, we also don't support big data selling data from users. We explained that that wasn't our burden in the first place. They never even explained the counterfactual on their side. All we're defending is fair implementation of these personalized ads through advertising. If they want to argue that data leaks happen on our side, they also have to defend it because they never explain to you why it is that without these personalized ads, that now these social media companies suddenly won't keep any data on their users. It's not fair to assume this on both sides. But secondly, let's check out their bizarre extension on hedonism. At the top of this response, I want to note that this isn't even the most important thing in this debate. People have the right to spend on what they want as long as they made the decision to buy it in the first place. So I have three responses. One, I think it's funny that they want to say that they defend convenient advertising, but we say, oh, we don't want people to see products because they'll overspend. Look, pick one, it's too late by third. But two, we say that companies will still implement other methods of multi-level marketing, i.e. it's still going to be very dangerous on their side. And three, they try to tell you that this is bad for the companies, right? If it's true that these ads don't work, then obviously the companies are just going to stop advertising there, right? This extension makes no sense. And before I move on, yes, I'll take the PR.
Research would still happen on your side of the house, but if target of the consumer is more specific, how would fear-mongering and even hedonistic would suddenly vanish under your side?
No, fear-mongering and like these things aren't going to suddenly vanish on your side. We're on our side. We're just saying that they're more prevalent on your side because companies actually need to depend on them more when they don't have these kind of personalized ads, right? All right, onto my extension on why personalized advertisements help NGOs and small businesses. In the current context of the SQ, today's climate means that advertising on like billboards or newspapers or even online is something that's incredibly difficult. Advertising to a broad array of audiences is not only extremely ineffective, but also extremely expensive. So why is this bad for NGOs and small businesses? Two reasons. One, it allows charity organizations to maximize effectivity. Personalized ads means that you don't have to reach as many people in total to actually get the donations you want as a charity organization. This is crucial because charity nonprofit organizations are literally so dependent on volunteers and donations just to operate. This efficient personalized advertisements actually lets them reach people who the algorithm thinks are willing to donate. You'll notice that panels in the SQ, charity in the status quo, charity organizations are dependent on these algorithms because they don't have as many resources to compete for advertising spots like large corporations and campaigners do. People don't wake up in the morning and think, oh man, there's so much injustice in the world. I should just go donate to a charity organizations. No, you actually need to bring the problems to these people if you want them to donate, right? What's the comparative on their side is that these charity organizations aren't able to reach as many people. They aren't able to like garner a lot of donations simply because of the fact that their advertising is so much more expensive and so much more ineffective, right? But two, banning personalized advertising hurts small businesses. We think that on prop, small businesses are going to be hindered, right? Because when these small businesses are starting out, they need to find a niche of people who are willing to try their product over that of like the big corporations. What is the comparative on prop? It's that these small businesses are forced to compete with large corporations for general advertising space. It means that large corporations are going to be able to monopolize advertising space because general exposure equates to leverage. What you get under prop side is an extremely uncompetitive environment where large corporations stomp out smaller businesses for lack of resources for advertising. For all speaking very proud to vote.
Thank you for the amazing speech. Calling upon government whip to close the case of government. Here.
Check, am I audible?
Can you speak louder?
Am I audible?
Nice.
Okay. PI preference, please just unmute yourself. I'll probably accept one before I move on to the second part of my speech, so just don't badger me. So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Their side don't want fear-mongering, but fear-mongering will be worse under their side since they actually know what individuals exactly going through. So actually insurance are going to be more infringed towards the actor that is already been targeted. So it will be forced to them even more. They have to see the same ads of insurance over and over again because they have been targeted to begin with and they have no coping up mechanism to it. So fear-mongering is more likely to happen under their side. That's why we're proud to propose. Two clashes then. First, I'm going to talk about the principle level is whether it is morally justifiable or not. But second, I'm going to talk about the long-term implication, adolescent behavior, killing small businesses, and whatsoever. First thing first was the principle, right? I think we posed it to you very well on how consent is actually not valid under their side, right? Because stealing is always going to be stealing, even when they have good intention with it. It's still morally unacceptable. Accessing social media or website are already like basic necessities in this modern era. You're going to be so outdated and not informed if you do not access it. It means that it is like already becoming that kind of basic need that you need. Realizing it, the app developer basically gives you no other option except submitting your personal information in order to access their services. We said the consent is invalid because society or individuals have no other option but to accept the privacy breach. I'll take it later. This is extremely important because we're talking about government, right? They should be the one who makes sure society is right. Side opposition champion the act of right violation. Government fails in their purpose and goals. It becomes unjustified under side government. Second metric we pose is also about the possibility of harm. Furthermore, this kind of company sell it towards a third party to create targeted advertisement for you. This is actually parallel to someone giving hundreds of sellers your address so that they can come and promote their product in front of your door. It is disturbing, it is annoying, and it is morally unacceptable because you're consented to it. The response is that, oh, it will make your shopping more convenient whatsoever. But firstly, we do not know exactly who this kind of social media sell the data towards, right? We could not maintain we could not secure the privacy of our data. I think this kind of company are likely to breach your data, and the incentive exists because of two reasons. Number one is because Rachel has told you that this app developer desperately needs profit, right? Selling it to a third party makes them profit more rather than relying on subscription like YouTube Premium, which doesn't accumulate much profit for them. The security of your data is not going to be maintained under side opposition. There's a high likelihood that your personal data is leaked and it could be utilized by bad people because maintaining a cybersecurity is extremely hard to be done right now, especially with the rising threat on cybersecurity. And those kind of company would not just want to afford this kind of managing data just to be able to maintain your target's data and securing it. Right? There are a lot of examples that people getting their data used for pinjol and whatsoever in the current status quo, and there are tons of example of it. But secondly, they also pose it right on how they would maintain your data because bound by regulation whatsoever. Fellows, notice that there is a loophole on the system right now. Tons of companies have your private data by now. No one would ever know if company A or company B leaked the data. This kind of loophole are likely to be utilized into the profit orientation characterization of this big company they have, right? At the end of the day, the likelihood of them leaking the data and spreading the data is extremely high under their side of the house. Even if company, this I'm gonna be charitable, right? Even if companies have capacity to maintain your data, the same ads of same products would still always show up over and over again in the screen of your phone or your laptop. Sometimes to the extent it hampers your comfortability in working because you cannot control when would it pop up and how users' comfortability is going to be maintained under side opposition. Comparatively, security is more maintained under our side because social media or website have no one else to buy the private data. Advertiser would not be allowed anymore to do this kind of thing. It means no privacy breach and data selling would happen. No one would steal your identity to use pinjol, etc. to be more safer in terms of security. But secondly, yes, advertisement would exist, but it would not be targeted, right? The type of product shown on your screen is not only about a certain product, but a more varied product. It is not going to be as annoying as side opposition, but you have to see same product as over and over again, simply because you recently searched about a power bank, your whole Instagram page will be filled with power bank advertisement. In fact, there is no urgency to do targeted marketing as well, like Rachel had told you before, because individuals would still be able to search the products they need manually. They can still search for the product they want in e-commerce. The conclusion is this: is that there's a massive possibility of harm under side opposition, or even if not, comfortability of user is extremely important because we're talking about government as a stakeholder, where they need to provide the privacy security as a right for citizen, but secondly also need to control the comfortability of citizen. Another small point, you should say about how selling product based on demography is under our side, right? At least this kind of individual in the conventional marketing, they don't have access to your valuable private data, right? We never oppose conventional targeted marketing because they do not own your personal data to begin with, and they could not badger you with the exact same advertisement over and over again, like what pictures in Instagram right now. The wing are twofold. Number one, no consent with massive possibility of harm is going to happen under side opposition. Government have to take action because it violates society's right. Notice we're talking about government as a stakeholder. Principle matters a lot because they need to protect the citizen because it is a part of citizens' right. But secondly, even if possibility of harm is not that massive, we still win under the consumer's comfortability because we don't have to make them see the same product advertisement over and over again. Yes, I'll take a PI.
We do not support companies who sell their consumers' data to third parties. Stop debating in the worst case scenario.
Yes, I've also engaged towards the very best case scenario of yours that they need to see over and over again, like an advertisement of the exact same products. Why is it still worth the trade-off? But I think you also need to engage towards the worst case scenario and no attempt at all coming from side opposition. They're not charitable in this to be. Second question, let's talk about the long-term implication about hedonistic behavior and killing small business. What we told you. We told you about how campaigns do not be. They told you on how campaigns do not be hedonistic exist. Notice panel that consumer exists in spectrums, like how hedonistic and like crazy rich people will still be hedonistic or they used to about it. Money saver will never be hedonistic, but we're talking about the people in the middle ground in this debate. This kind of people will see the exact same advertisement of same product under their site, will change their mindset as well, because middle ground don't have that strong sense yet. No matter how strong your mentality is, if you see that kind of product over and over again, you actually be tempted to buy it, right? This group looks like middle class society with minimum wage and lots of other income and whatsoever. Comparatively on the our side, these kind of individuals will see different ads daily, and not all of them suits you. The power, it means that the power of ads to persuade you is not that massive, and the hedonism is not going to be worse under side government. Why is it inherently bad? Because hedonism ruins your priority skill, right? Even in worst case service, like it makes you become less prioritizing the most important thing, and even it's worsened because the service like pinjol exists. This is where people become trapped in the devil circle of pinjol, like how they actually going to worsen the economic condition of this vulnerable actor. Comparatively, ads are not going to be as compelling as side opposition. You do not see the same product every day, and some of them are not even suitable to you under our side of the house. It means that the middle ground society is not going to be swayed that much. The hedonistic behavior will not be that much. But if they want to see and if they want to buy a product, they can still search for it in e-commerce. I don't think there's a harm in it. But second thing, right? They also start to talk about kill small business and charities. Notice panel that this kind of actors have other method of campaigning. They can still promote by endorsing influencer. They can still do non-targeted marketing. They can do conventional marketing and whatsoever. Therefore, the mechanism for them to do promotion still exists in the status quo. Comparatively, small business and comparatively society do not have any other mechanism to protect themselves from this annoying advertisement. Right? They could not stop playing Instagram because they need Instagram to work. They need Instagram to study as student whatsoever. They do not have any other mechanism to avoid this kind of annoying advertisement, but then it is like their basic necessities and they could not run away from it. Comparatively, businesses and charities, they have other mechanisms. they can endorse the followers, and they can endorse the influencers. They can have non-targeted marketing. If the mechanisms and counterfactual for them exist, that's why it's less urgent to protect them. The most vulnerable actor are the individuals who need to use this kind of social media every single day, but they're annoyed. Government needs to cater towards the citizen. We have the right to protect, proud to protect.
Thank you for the amazing speech, calling upon President Whip to close the case of opposition here.
All right, can you please give me a few moments? I have to set everything up.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, just want to confirm that I'm visible and audible.
Yep, you are.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I prefer POIs just by unmuting because I won't be paying attention to chat. So yeah, but please don't badger me. I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. 3 speeches, and Proposition still hasn't told you the actual difference between traditional and conventional ads that they defend compared to personalized ads based on algorithms, and why the harms of personalized ads necessitate and justify the harms. The only analysis we got was this simplistic assertion about how fear-mongering ads will be worse on our side, something that they even stole from our analysis because it's clear they don't understand from first to second that there was no clarity as to what advertising on their side looks like. Let's look at how they're so left behind in this debate by truly engaging to their whip speech. Whips, like their whip said, the conventional marketing is better because it's not targeted. That's it. That's all. That's all, the only thing that they said. This is bizarre because all marketing and ads are literally going to have a certain degree of targeting elements because they need to sell their products. We told you in the first speaker speech that on their side things will be worse, where companies try to do multi-level marketing and also be more more aggressive in trying to convince these people on a more personalized and in-person basis. We got zero engagement to this because we don't see how they actually solve hedonism on their side. Why? Because on their side, you don't change capitalism, you don't ban advertising, you don't ban research and development for advertising. Look at the way Government Whip conveniently tries to rebut our extensive analysis by simply saying that consent is not valid because stealing is still stealing and we don't support Facebook selling the data to third parties. Petals, you need to discredit this bizarre analysis because since the get-go, we have already told you that we do not support companies who sell their consumers data to third parties. They can't just misrepresent our case and put that burden on us. An important point to clear up Proposition's mess, and I'll take that POI. This debate is about the harms and benefits of personalized ads, not a vague premise about like the rights to privacy or who should be responsible for overspending. So Proposition has not fulfilled their burden up till now. Now, 2 issues I'm going to be discussing in my speech. Firstly, whether the ban on personalized ads is justified, and second issue on whether their side solves all of the problems with hedonism. But before all that, I'll take a POI.
Data leak is not what you need to defend, but it's the consequences of your stance. This possibility exists, and why are you so reluctant in engaging to this, realizing the high likelihood of it happening?
We've already engaged with this several times, so I don't get why you're trying to ask this POI, but still, I'll be engaging with this later on my second clash. Look, okay. Now, they gave you a feeble principle about data privacy and how users' consent is not viable. Note that they've never given you any structural analysis about how consent is not valid. We've already engaged this by saying that on our side, the terms and conditions will be simplified and they're going to be emphasized so users actually know, what data they're allowing. This means that insofar like companies use this data in accordance to the terms and conditions, it is never a problem to begin with. We have never defended the selling of data, but Proposition won't stop strawmanning our case because we've literally told you since our first speech that we don't support the illegal implementation of this. And we've already set our stance clear in that people who don't read the terms and conditions, despite all of this, whatever consequences they face is on them and it shouldn't be our burden. Still, okay. Now on to my first rebuttal, on to their claim that personalized ads are predatory. This is simply an assertion that is a worst case scenario on our side because we've already told you since our first speaker speech why predatory ads are not solved at all on their side. Because this won't happen on our side. This won't actually happen on our side because look, we have to be clear on how not every company or business is actually big enough to reach the demographic they want without personalized ads. This is because your marketing is incredibly harmed without being able to target specific audiences where your product is actually relevant because you're just trying to put out your ads into like a really broad landscape because because there's no targeting on their side. Because on their side, we've already shown you how predatory marketing still exists. Because with personalized data marketing, small businesses Okay. With personalized data marketing, small businesses can actually find better ways to find potential customers through the use of artificial intelligence and also data scientists. The comparative to traditional methods is clear. For traditional methods such as door-to-door marketing, we say that it often costs a lot of resources at a point in which you have so much people and like you just waste resources. They've never engaged to this. Like the only engagement that they've given you is like, oh, you can use celebrity endorsements or like physical non-targeted marketing, which kind of goes against the characterization of small businesses, because we've already told you that they have limited resources and the only way they'll be able to sustain themselves is through targeted marketing. The comparative under our side is that supporters of the algorithm and other monitoring technologies that claim can have more valuable, enjoyable online experiences that result from more appropriate advertising. On the other hand, if awareness sparks consumer opposition and it awakens privacy concerns, advertising performance will suffer. And like if marketers they'll carry if they carry on they're still gonna face criticism. Now onto their point. All right. A conclusion and weighing for the judge on this clash. We've already analyzed 3 important things on this clash. Firstly, how personalized advertisements based on algorithms are actually a good advancement of technology and they shouldn't be restrained. Secondly, how proposition's characterization is extreme and in this status quo, the regulations do still exist. And thirdly, how banning this won't stop invasive advertising. It'll actually worsen it as businesses can find loopholes around it. And for these reasons, we win this clash. Now, I'll be moving on to the second issue, which is about which side makes advertising more accessible or helps the actors in this debate. And note that there was barely any engagement to this, only that there's other alternatives which they haven't actually proven to be effective. Now, they said that advertisements that aren't relevant can just that people can just ignore advertisements that aren't relevant. And they said that alternatives for small businesses exist. Several responses to this. Look, it's easy to say that there's no harm to the customers, but there was no acknowledgement on their side to the businesses, especially small businesses who have limited resources to market their products. And they only allow big corporations who have the capital to advertise to a large untargeted audience to actually gain traction. And given that we defend personalized advertising with consent, this doesn't harm more people to a larger extent, but there's no engagement. Now, onto the bizarre claim that they kept pushing, that on our side, people will be more financially reckless. Look, from the get-go, this argument only flies if you can prove that personalized ads always equate more spending. They didn't give any analysis to this argument about hedonism, but will still be charitable engaged. Firstly, ads on our side won't be coercive or manipulate people into buying them. We've already told you from the beginning that we don't support this kind of advertising. And in their world where people prefer to search things that they want rather than be influenced by personalized ads, won't the same thing happen on their side? Because these companies will know the behavior and habits of their customers, and they will exploit it. So we posited on their side, companies can still find methods to more aggressively market their products because they need to be over-competitive to survive. Now, they try to save their case by saying that people on our side, they're going to be bombarded by over-personalized ads, and this is our best case scenario when we've already given you a clear comparative that our side we have more benefits and we prevent the harms that they're going to bring on their side. The comparative and proposition is that there's no tangible benefit at all, and they're actually just creating more problems on their side for the customers and the businesses, because there's going to be more aggressive marketing tactics, and it's actually going to be more predatory. And for all these reasons, I'm incredibly proud to oppose this motion.
Thank you for the amazing speech, calling upon opposition reply to close and sum up the whole case of opposition. Here.
Yeah, okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, no matter how prop sounds very populist, you need to note that they have not met any of their super huge burdens that they have placed upon themselves. What are those? A, how banning personalized ads based on algorithms actually solves predatory marketing. We told you how it's going to be worse on their side because companies will always be aggressive at marketing their product. They didn't really engage with this. Their only analysis we got from WIP, which is so late, when they said, oh, you exacerbate the harm of traditional marketing without any structural analysis at all. B, how banning personalized ads will solve overconsumption and hedonism. We told you very clearly on both sides, capitalism exists Advertisement, research, and development also exists. But see how all companies will be so moral and ethical about users and consumers' data on their side. At best, this is something that both sides cannot control, because if data leaks happen on our side, data leaks also happen on their side, because companies do have incentive to keep user data on either side, right? Panels, 3 speeches down the line, and Prop has failed to characterize their advertising. They've been extremely inconsistent this entire time. On one hand, they say that user data is dangerous because it's effective. On the other hand, they say that user data doesn't work and it just annoys people. I'll be rebutting both of these in my classes, but it shows that there's a tension in their case. They state that stealing is still stealing. It's not that users have consented to it per our model, which was to implement an app tracking data warning like Apple. They say that advertising is predatory without any analysis why it is predatory. Predatory marketing at best is a deadlock because advertisements about insurance still fearmonger. Apple won't fix RCS on their side to make advertising that preys on envy and jealousy. They literally don't solve anything. The opening shows how their strategy makes their case look so marginal and low impact. What you should prioritize then are our arguments. I'm going to discuss 2 things in my speech. First clash, on which side is more principally in the right, and second clash, which side benefits outweigh the harms. We told you 2 important things. 1, that this harms the principle of advertising, and 2, that is essential for advertisement accessibility, which has gone unengaged with. They tried to save their case by saying that it's not fair if people see ads every day on Instagram because the tech company actually sold their data and they'll see it every single day. We literally told you since the get-go that all advertisements' incentive is to promote their product. So their claim isn't exclusive or relevant at all in this debate. Let's compare. They told you 2 things. That 1, personalized advertisement is predatory in nature and it causes hedonism. And 2, consent is invalid. This is just an assertion. We told you on our side, we gave clear warnings in terms of conditions that are literally very easy to understand now. We have rebutted their claims by saying that they attempted to argue that advertisers advertisers don't have the right to view our data, despite the fact that this is not even the case in the status quo and is not how tailored advertisements operate. We explained that we don't support big data selling user data because that wasn't our burden in the first place. But note that they've never proved why their counterfactual is more moral and comparatively better. We say in the worst case where it happened, where companies are immoral on both sides, it's much harder to track and scrutinize under their side exactly because it won't happen on an online public platform. It's clear that they don't understand the principle of advertising. Now, second clash, what did we tell you? Onto my second clash on tangible harms and benefits. What did we tell you? That 1, personalized advertisements help NGOs and small businesses, and 2, personalized marketing is essential for advertisement accessibility. How did they respond? 1, they tried to tell you that influencers are going to be the platforms of advertising. This was an extremely bizarre claim, which was heavily underanalyzed. They never explained why, in this case, that these influencers would be willing to advertise for smaller businesses rather than large corporations who can pay them better. And 2, this actually doesn't help businesses because customers find these ads annoying. Panels, this is an extremely bizarre claim that took up a lot of their DPM substantive, which doesn't even make sense because at a point where these companies choose to advertise, of course it's going to be effective, right? But then they told you 2 things, that 1, society is extremely vulnerable, and 2, it'll only be contemporary. We've rebutted this by saying that companies will still conduct research, which means there's still going to be a lot of extremely aggressive advertising. But sure, these people can search up for specific products that they want that still exists under both sides. The difference here is that we get much better exposure, especially for smaller businesses who need to reach this niche of people who will buy their products. Exactly because it will be more personalized, it can affect more individuals on a personal level. It means that they cannot co-opt our benefits by only contemporary advertisement. The conclusion here is that we provide a better advertising space for small businesses and NGOs, while they get nothing. For all these reasons, very proud to oppose.
Thank you for the great speech calling upon government reply to pause this whole grand final round. Here.
Am I audible?
You're loud and clear.
Okay, I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. With specific data and algorithms, the market is only going to target society to excessively spend their money on opposition. That's a harm the opposition never conceded to. They failed to defend their role. But 2 main points of clashes to somewhat this debate. Firstly, on the contention of the issue of privacy, but secondly, on practical about predatory advertisement. The first clash then on the issue of privacy. It becomes very ironic that opposition tell you that they want advertisement to become more accountable, but at the same time, the exact way they promote products and services is through digging society's information and data. We don't get how they want their advertisement to become more accountable, because the only principle that they gave you is to say that, oh, people consented. Look, we already preempted their entire case at the beginning of our speech that A, consent was never viable to begin with because people agree with terms and conditions, not because they didn't read it, but because they are forced to. They don't have their choices being upheld on their side of the house. It's not even important that you make those terms and conditions more simple under your side because people will still have to agree with it anyway, which is why it is only going to infringe their rights at the end. But secondly, DL also came up and tell you that, oh, data is not going to be leaked. Fear mongering and hedonism doesn't exist under their side. Notice how dismissive their entire speech is. There's only going to be a huge contradiction because LO told you that companies use consumers' data, but DLO comes up and tells you that they don't want to use data. I don't think opposition even understands this debate until the end of the speech. But thirdly, then they also try to talk about small companies from competing with big companies. Right? I think we already responded to that case that other ways of operation still exist for them, such as campaigns or even endorsement and etc. Right? But even so, targeted marketing is also very expensive, which is why we don't think that harm actually exists at the end of the day. The second question on practical about predatory advertisement. Opposition is mainly concerned about society's rationality. They tell you that ads is not convincing. That point alone doesn't make any sense. When if advertisement is not even convincing, then how do companies even sell their products or services, right? Not to mention personalized data that tracks whatever it is that you're doing in your daily life basis. It is there to directly target an individual's demand, which is why the acts of hedonism is actually way more amplified under their side of the house. Comparatively, under a side proposition, if individuals don't like advertisement, they can simply close it or block it away. Even if hedonism exists, we take the bullet, but it's way lower than opposition side of the house, which is why that harm is still worse under their side. But secondly, we also told you that companies most likely leaks data, right? This is not a straw man that side opposition assumes. It's an outcome that exists on their world. We gave you way more characterization in this case on how companies they need money. They can't just depend on subscription exactly because not many consumers buy the subscription. They sell data to other companies, for instance, because it generates a lot of profit. That alone is already enough to prove our point, right? That these companies they still have the incentive to actually leak those data that these consumers have. But furthermore, we also think that check and balance won't exist under their side of the house. When every type of the company is leaking their data, consumers can never detect who the culprit actually is, right? And exactly because that's the reason why individuals on their side of the house will never find the companies that is actually leaking their data. It's even more dangerous on their side of the house that their data keeps on getting leaked out, and how hedonism is always going to be there to chase after these consumers, right? Like how you search up something in Instagram and suddenly it appears in Shopee, for instance. That's the type of marketing that happens under side opposition. Even if they want to talk about how these companies are doing research and they're providing marketing strategies, it also exists under their side of the house. Therefore, the harm is not even exclusive. The conclusion then in this debate is very simple, right? If people want to buy products under our side of the house, these consumers they can search for the product for themselves. It is way better, exactly because you can do even more research for the product that you want to buy, or even the services that you're trying to accept. However, comparatively under their side of the house, even if advertisement, like personalized advertisement exists, it's not even that important to begin with, because the only benefit they get is convenient. However, they never conceded to that point of analysis anyway. They never proved to you anything significant inside their speech, right? Therefore, you want to weigh on the practical and as well as the principle of this debate. I think proposition has already clearly won. We're so proud to propose.
All right, thank you everyone for the very great debate, for the very great grand final. Please wait for the result in the closing announcement. We're giving it back to the committees, and for judges, we can deliberate in the breakout room. Yeah, and please wait for the committees to allow us.
Okay, thank you so much, Kahizran. Hello, everyone. I'm the head committee. My name is Nayara, and that's the end of English Debate Competition SETARA 2022. We will announce the champions and the best speakers during the closing, as said before, so please keep an eye on that. And before ending the Zoom meeting, I would like to congratulate to both of the grand finalists that has made it this far, and of course to the other 26 teams that has participated in the competition. We would also like to thank our core education panel, Ka Elgard, Ka Hezron, our Taber, and their lovely educators for sparing their time to judge and moderate the debate. Thank you as well to my fellow organizing committee, because without them, I think that the competition wouldn't run as smoothly as it is. Hope everyone had a great time throughout the competition and made it a learning experience for all. We want to apologize if there are any inconveniences. So if anyone has concerns, you can give feedback to me or our contact persons. I think that's all. And can everyone turn on their cameras, because there will be a documentation session. Can everyone turn on their cameras, or we'll just continue the documentation with the cameras closed? Okay, we'll just do the documentation. One, two, three, cheese. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice day.